All right. Good evening, folks. Again, this is Nurse Jar. I am super excited to be resurrecting this channel. I haven't been here for a few years, only because I was ensuring that, my channel for students and nurse aid candidates was fully established and legitimized, right? And that has been accomplished. So I'm very happy about that. And yes, it takes, a couple of years to get your channel here on YouTube legitimized and established. So anywho, guys, this channel is for nurse aid instructors or any type of instructor, right? I think the information will be beneficial to all instructors, teachers, trainees, whether you're teaching nurse aides or nurses or any other professional, in the healthcare industry or even outside the industry. Now, I did a live stream earlier. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to delete that live stream because when I replayed it, I learned that I lost audio, right? So about 2/3 or more of that live stream is just quiet, okay? So what I want to do before I actually begin the topic on this live stream, I'm just going to briefly recap what I discussed in my earlier live stream. And that was, again, on classroom organization, but the topic was focused on classroom guidelines. So in that live stream, I explained to you the importance of titling, your guidelines as guidelines instead of rules, because rules, that word in itself is harsh. And usually rules, are set in stone and they are made to be broken. So instead, you'll want to entitle, whatever expectations you have of your students as far as within the classroom as classroom guidelines. And then you want to explain to them that, the guidelines that you're going to set forth are going to be reviewed and, if necessary, modified or altered regularly or routinely. And it's your personal preference as to how often, you want to review your classroom guidelines. Another important variable or factor when it comes to creating your guidelines is that you want to include your students. Now, you will already have several guidelines written down that you want, but leave at least, 1, 2, or even 3, maybe even 4 guidelines that your students can come together as a team and create, okay? Now, that is good for several reasons. One, that will empower your students. 2, that will give your students a sense that their voice matters to you, their instructor. And 3, this is your time, right, to actually start evaluating, your students individually, right? How they interact with each other, their communication skills, who's giving the ideas, who is, sort of modifying the ideas that are given, who's just sitting back, being quiet, not saying anything, right? This is your time to actually start evaluating your students just in case, right? Which this live stream is going to be about, just in case you want to organize your classroom with class leaders, which I think is very important, right? Especially if you have more than 10 students in your class. So classroom or student leadership is extremely viable, is extremely important, when you're teaching. Another aspect of, classroom organization with classroom guidelines that I went over was the 3 parts of your classroom guidelines. 1 is the guideline itself. 2 is the why behind the guideline. And 3 is the what will happen if this guideline is violated, right? You want that all in your guidelines because that will help your students understand why you're, putting in place this, a particular guideline, and then they know in advance what consequences they're going to face if that guideline is broken, okay, or violated, right? Again, with you allowing your students to participate in creating, 1, 2, 3, or maybe even 4 of these guidelines, it will give them a sense of empowerment, and it will give them a sense that their voice matters, in the classroom, and it matters to you, their instructor. Okay. And then I went over like how you can actually word your guidelines in a manner that is not negative, right? Because a lot of times when we're creating these guidelines, the very first word is no, right? No cell phones, no talking, no this, no that. And when you're, hitting up your students on that, very first day when you're going over your expectations, all they're hearing is no, 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 right? So much negativity. Okay. Now, there are ways that, you can tell your students what is not allowed in your class by not so much negativity, right? Not so much negativity. So, for instance, if I said, if one of your, I think I used the example regarding cell phones, right? No cell phones. Well, that's so vague and it's so negative, right? So instead of having your classroom guideline as with no cell phones, right? You can rephrase it, cell phones prohibited during instruction time, because you using your cell phone will not only distract you from learning, but your classmates, it will distract them if they're seeing you texting on your cell phone, right? And that will take away from your learning. Okay, if this guideline is broken, or if you are seen using your phone during instruction, this is what will happen. This is the consequence. Okay. And then I think I told y'all, like, I do not want to be responsible for anyone's electronics. So I never took up cell phones in my classroom. I really never even had an issue with students being on their cell phones while instructing, because once I went over the guidelines with them, and it had all 3 parts. That the guideline, it answered why I'm setting this in place, and the what, it answered the what. they basically understood, and I implemented those guidelines and I enforced them, right? So whatever consequence I had for the cell phone, I enforced it, beginning day one, to let them know that, hey, I'm really serious about this, right? And then I think I also, let me see. Oh, I talked about, when you create your guidelines, the 3 steps is the creation or construction of your guideline, and then the implementation, the doing, right? Actually putting your guidelines in effect, and then enforcement, right? Enforcing those guidelines. So, if you create them and you really don't implement them, and you have students chit-chatting, right? I'm talking about like, just full blown out conversations during instruction, or you have students using their cell phones and you're sitting back saying, hey guys, like, why are y'all doing this, right? It's not your students, it's you, because you never really implemented those guidelines. And then, maybe you did implement them, but you never really enforced, the consequences, the what will happen, right? So it's really important that you stand fast to the guidelines that you create. Make sure you implement them and make sure that you enforce them. Okay. So that is it. And then I think I gave like a little pop quiz at the end. I asked y'all to write in the comment section what are the 3 parts of a guideline. And I'm not talking about the creation or construction and the implementation and in the enforcement of those guidelines, but the 3 parts, the 3 sections, what you should have, within the guideline. Okay. So if you're watching the recording of this, once I'm done with the live stream, go ahead and put it in the chat. Okay. So I know that you were listening to me. Okay. But yeah, I'm super excited to be back on this channel. I'm going to be active. I'm trying to resurrect this channel because I have been absent away from it for so long. But if you have not yet subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to it. If you know any other instructors, have them to subscribe to this channel because I will start interacting with you all on this channel. Go ahead and hit the like button. That helps my channel to become more recognizable here in YouTube and also in Google search. And if you want to be notified whenever I upload new content and go live, you can go ahead and ring that notification bell. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get into the topic of this live stream, which again is classroom organization, but we're going to talk about student leadership and why I feel that, having leadership within within the students is very important for you as an instructor, especially when you start, when you start getting into your manual skills. Okay. Now, remember, I told y'all that when you're doing your classroom guidelines, right, you should already have whatever guidelines you as an instructor what in place. Basically, these are your expectations of student behavior. Like I really don't like saying behavior, but I can't think of another word right now. Okay. But how you want your students' presence to be in your classroom. And I told you to leave at least, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 guidelines that your students can create. Now, this is a very good icebreaker for the first day because one, your students are coming from different locales, right? They may or they may not know each other, right? So it's really a good way for your students to become familiar with each other, start learning about each other, and most importantly, start learning how to work as a team. Okay. This will give your students, again, right, a sense of empowerment and a sense that their voice matters. Okay. And of course, you as the instructor, you will have the final say so. Now, remember what I said at the very beginning is that even though this is good for your students, it's also good for you because day one, if you are going to integrate a student council within your class or student leadership, this is the perfect time for you to start evaluating, right, and observing, what student is, throwing out all of the ideas of, the guidelines and, what student is, student or students are like, trying to modify that guideline so it can be fair, across the board. What students are just sitting back, not really participating. And I'm gonna tell you this little story, okay, about your quiet students, right? But this is your time to really start observing. So you're not just, breaking the ice, but giving your students the opportunity to work together as a team. But again, you're giving yourself as an instructor the opportunity to observe your students working as a team. Okay. So I'm going to tell you how I set up my student council or student leadership in my classrooms. I had two classroom ambassadors. Well, first I started out with one classroom ambassador, maybe had, one or two, one classroom ambassador, two classroom leaders, and then I had 4 peer coaches. Okay. That's what I started out with. And then once I started seeing, other students, exhibiting like just really outstanding leadership qualities and skills, I actually ended up with 3, was it 3 or 2? No, it was 2 classroom ambassadors. They were the top leaders of the class. Then I had 3 classroom leaders and 3 peer coaches because I broke it down right into 3s. But I'll tell you the reason I did that is because, and I do that, like I probably wait for about a month. Now, the classes I taught were a year long. Okay. So I had plenty of time to just sit back and observe my students and, select who I wanted to give the opportunity to. And I let them know that, it's not mandatory. You don't have to accept this position. But if you do, my expectations of you is going to be higher than, the expectations that I have of your classmates because you are in a leadership position. But it helps you, especially when you start getting into the manual skills, right? And what I did was I would demonstrate and train my leaders on how to perform the skill. And then at that time, they would, the classroom ambassadors, I trained them, and then they would train or demonstrate and train or teach the class leaders the skill as I overlooked, right? I observed because I needed to see, them in action, right? And making sure that they were able to mentor their classmates appropriately. And then I had the class leaders to teach and observe the peer coaches. Now, the peer coaches are the the class leaders who actually demonstrate to their members, their team members. Okay, so the classroom ambassadors, they're basically overseeing the entire class. And then the leaders are assigned a peer coach and a team. Okay. And then I think what I'll do is probably do a recorded video, like a PowerPoint, turn it into a video and have it on here so you can so I can give you like the diagrams or show you the diagrams of that. But it helps you as an instructor because like if you have, for myself, I had 3 classes a day. And in each class, I had anywhere from 18 to 23, 24, 25 students, right? So, and it was just little old me, right? And I really couldn't give special attention to students who were probably struggling with certain skills. So that's why I have a student leadership, because my ambassadors or class leaders, or, I could get one of my peer coaches to do some one-on-one mentoring with that student while I'm either evaluating or observing or, teaching or training. Okay. So is very important. And then again, they can also help you, your class leaders can help you, implement your classroom guidelines. They can be, not snitches, but, just good observers, right? So if they see someone, getting out their phone, they can remind them, hey guys, remember the guideline, no cell phones, right? And another thing that I do also, especially, I'm jumping off subject now. Well, not kind of, sort of, right? But when it comes to cell phones, especially during lecture, I would actually have a built-in slide with a timer. It's a 1-minute timer. And I would tell them, okay, guys, if, go ahead. If you got to text somebody, you got 1 minute to do it, right? 1 minute to do it. If you want to check your IG or your Facebook or your TikTok, you have 1 minute to do it. The time is starting now, right? And so I actually had that built in because that would sway students away from trying to sneak out their phone during lecture, right? Them knowing that, hey, sometime during this lecture, there's going to be a couple of 1-minute timer slides where I'll be able to, get on my phone. I even had like brain breaks, right? Especially if, the whole entire class period was going to be a lecture, right? Give them 5-minute brain breaks where they can get up, walk around, they can chit chat, they can get on their phone, go use the restroom, what have you, right? Lectures, you as an instructor know very well how, boring some of these lectures can be. And so just to keep your students engaged while you are instructing, you do want to give them some, short little brain breaks or like little, minute telephone breaks, right? And so that was another way I was able to not have any issues with cell phone usage during instruction. Okay. So again, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm just going to recap what the focus, what I talked about, okay? And that was with your student leadership. I told you the reasons why, it's a good idea. And for me, it was really important for me to have classroom leadership or student leadership in my class because it was very helpful to me, and it gave the leaders a sense of empowerment. And also, peers tend to learn more and learn better from their peers, right? Because I can tell them one thing and the class leader will tell them the same thing, and they get it, right? Because that class leader knows what type of language to use with their classmates, right? So it's a very good idea. Again, I had students who were classroom ambassadors, and basically they were, in charge of the entire classroom. They observed the entire class. And then I had class leaders who reigned up underneath the classroom ambassadors. Those leaders were assigned peer coaches, and those peer coaches had their team members, and usually like 4 to 5 team members per group, because I think I just had like 3 groups. But yeah, guys, so that is it. I hope you enjoy this video. I don't think I got anyone who sat in. I really wasn't expecting anyone because, like I said, I've been absent from this channel for a while. But I am trying to resurrect it. So y'all get back, okay? Get back on here. I will be interacting with you all and answering questions or responding to any comments that I receive this day forward. Yes. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed. I don't know when I'm going to be doing the next live stream, but I will be working on a pre-recorded video. I'm going to try to drop at least 1 video per week, and do a live stream maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. Okay. Until my subscription rate starts gaining. Right now I have 654 subscribers. My goal for within the next 2 to 3 months, I want that rate to increase to 1,000. Okay. So if you have any friends that are instructors, acquaintances that are instructors, send them my way, okay, and have them subscribe to my YouTube channel. I look forward to doing more videos for you all. Take care. Ciao.